you know, I get a lot of advice from random people, but if you had to give me any advice, what would you say to me?
Well, I don't know. It's funny. I was reading an interview with you, and I thought it was kind of dead on what you said, because you were correct. When you're young, a lot of people they want to make sure that you don't get a big head, and they want to make sure that, you know, none of this, that you're going to stay normal and like stay a child, and that's already kind of like, well, I'm not already.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's like that's a little late, but I thought you nailed it, and just make sure that you love what you do, and be an actor not because you want to, but because you have to, and because it's your passion, and because it's so difficult, and it does get harder the older that you get. You know, and the criticisms come more, and but the best advice somebody ever gave me, and it was Selma Blair, and she said, don't ever read message boards. It does you more good to lick a toilet seat than to read the nasty things that people say about you. And so I would just highly recommend
looking at a toilet.
Lick a toilet seat before you listen to the nasty people that, you know, just want to anonymously poke fun. And I'm sure you know that, because you already seem quite wise.
Oh, thank you. But no, I agree. I think that, like, if you look at the message boards, and if you look at the insults and things, it just makes me stronger. Like that is like compliments to me. So I'm playing on their mind, clearly. You know. So, you know, that's my mentality. I never really take it personally, because I just think I'm playing on their mind. I clearly annoy them, which is that's my goal.
Made an impression.
Yeah, I made an impression, clearly, and that's okay with me.
Exactly. It's a great attitude to have.
So I was 8 when I wanted to be an actress, and I went to this school of just modeling and singing. But when did you know you wanted to be an actress?
Well, I was kind of born into it. My parents were actors. My father ran a theater, so I grew up watching plays my whole life, and I was carried out on stage when I was a baby. You know, I was kind of just always around it. And then a TV movie just sort of fell into my lap when I was 4. My parents were friends with a casting agency, and I remember it so clearly. I was just in the kitchen playing around, and my mom picked up the phone and went, Evan, do you want to be in a movie? And I just went, yeah, sure, okay. And that was literally the start of my career. It was just a shrug and an okay. But I didn't really understand kind of the craft or the power of it until I started watching films like To Kill a Mockingbird and The Miracle Worker, and I saw the young girls in it, and the strength that they had, and the depth, and it moved me so much, because, you know, I identified with them in a way that I wasn't really seeing in other films about children, and so that was the first time I thought, oh, this is serious. Yeah. This is really serious. I can do this, and there's a beauty to this, and there's an art to this, and and yeah, I was around the same age. I was around 8 or 9. Isn't it funny that you could have such a
I know. You have such a strong, like I wasn't even like sure. I just wanted to. I was like, you have to do it. Like to me, like acting is breathing. Like if I stop acting, it's like nothing's happening to me, you know, like I get really bored, and like I'm like, oh my goodness, hurry up already, you know? Yeah. And yeah, so I was 8, and I went to this acting school, and I just kind of started reading lines, and I really loved memorizing scripts, and like I done this like Brussels sprouts commercial. It was like the worst thing, but like I loved it. I really, like, it was the funniest script, but it meant so much to me, and I think that's what, like, when I read Stranger Things script, it means the same thing from the first time I ever read a script to now. It always means something.
I always get an instinct or a feeling when I'm really connecting with something, when I know I have to do it. I start getting butterflies in my stomach, and you have this need and this connection to something, and you're just drawn to it. Like it's like a magnet. Yeah. Honestly,
like when I read a script and I feel so passionate about it, I can't catch my breath. Like when I talk about it to someone, I'm like, could not stop like smiling. I'm like, you've got to read it. Like you don't understand, like the meaning behind it for me. You know, it might mean something else to you, but it really means something to me. So,
yeah, I feel the same way. That's how, you know, you find the thing that you identify with.
Exactly.
And you bring that to it. You know, well, of course you're playing a character and you're dissecting that thing, but that feeling that you're talking about, that connection, is what I think brings that little extra spark to that role. Do you remember what that thing was for Stranger Things?
Yeah, so the vulnerability, I think, was the most challenging and the best part of playing Eleven, because she could have these two sides to her, you know, and she could be completely crazy and like super protective. And I think that's the one thing I also related to her, was like being protective. I have such a big family, and like I'm really protective over my 5-year-old sister. So like them things just relate to me. Like I'm sure, you know, you relate to things about your son or something like that.
Absolutely. Well, and I could tell because you were so good with him earlier. But yeah, and that is something that I noticed about your role on Stranger Things, and actually why I thought it was so funny that we were gonna meet today, because I know you haven't seen Westworld because it's a bit mature.
I'm not allowed yet.
Isn't it funny when you can't? I wasn't allowed to see a lot of my own movies in the theater.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
13, and most of the films I starred in as a minor were rated R.
Wow.
So I wouldn't even been able to legally go see them.
Oh my goodness.
Hilarious. But the thing that I noticed about both of our characters was that there was a strength in the vulnerability. It was this persistence, and it was the pushing through the vulnerability and facing what you're most afraid of.
The truth.
And overcoming trauma. And that's so I thought it was, I saw so many parallels between the two characters.
Yeah.
So. How has it been since Stranger Things has come out? I mean, you're kind of like you're 11.
Oh.
You're this household name now.
Thank you. I just remember like the first day of shooting, my first ever role in anything, and that excitement was something that I can always feel every day I go on set. And the response has been incredible, and I'm really grateful for it, but I just remember the first day of shooting and comparing them two feelings. You know, it's like, of course it's going to be the excitement of being on set and just working, and the craft, it just means so much to me, and like I can't ever go back to thinking, oh, maybe I should just do something else, or maybe I just could sign autographs and take pictures all the time. I just enjoy being on set and talking to the director and like really going over things. I remember the first day of shooting, and it weighs more to me. It means more to me than signing autographs and taking pictures with fans and, you know, going on red carpets. Like I love that, but I could never feel the same way about when I shoot, you know?
Yeah.
How about you? I mean, Westworld's blown up.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been doing this since I was a kid, and kind of in a similar way. I was around 13, 14 when I started going to the awards ceremonies, started getting nominated for things. You know, we were both kind of teenagers when all this started happening. It's funny, everyone's like, what was your prom night like? And I was like, well, the SAG Awards were
great.
Really great. Yeah. You know, right. I felt like that was my prom. Yeah.
Recently, it seems like the whole world is calling to me in a way it hasn't before.
I feel the same, especially when it's for a role that you did work so hard on and that was so emotional, you know, and it's a performance that really means something and was really moving people, and that's what has stayed with them, and I think that's why your performance stands out so much, because you can just tell that there was so much thought behind it and a real craft and a real passion, but it is always so drawing for people, I think, to see that that kind of maturity coming from a younger person, even though I still think we don't give teenagers or children enough credit. I think they're really our best teachers.
Honestly,
Sometimes I feel like I was more grown up when I was a teenager. I feel like I had things way more figured out than I do now. So I don't think we should really be surprised by this anymore. But yeah, I feel very, very similar. I'm very proud of that role and that project, and also the kind of role that it was for a woman or a girl. And I think that's another thing that I really love about the characters that we played is we're kind of you don't know if we're the hero or the villain.
Yeah.
But we are definitely that driving force, and we're saving the day, we're causing trouble, there's so much power and strength in these characters, going completely against any kind of gender norms.
Yeah.
I also love that we both have short hair and 3 names.
So. Yeah, it's so cool. but so yeah, I mean, I was just wondering, how was it as as a young actress, as my age, working with older actors, that you look up to? I was wondering, because when I work with, Winona, I'm always in awe of I don't know, I just get this feeling how do I act in front of her, how do I act, you know what I mean? So it's easy acting on screen, but acting in front of someone you admire and you adore is I was just wondering how you responded to that.
It's funny, before people really started paying attention to me, it was easier because people weren't expecting as much.
Right.
So when I did 13 and I was acting with Holly Hunter, who I had loved my whole life and respected, I was excited to sort of get in there and show them what I had.
Yeah.
Because no one saw it coming. No. So I was like, oh man, you guys don't, just watch this. And then after 13 came out, it was so funny. The next film that I did, I had stage fright for the first time because suddenly all the eyes were on me and they expected greatness. And that was the first time that I actually felt kind of scared because I didn't want to let anybody down. And I did a film and I was acting opposite Edward Norton, and I was just terrified the whole time. But just pulled myself up on my bootstraps and went in and got it done. I pride myself off of being fearless, and I think that's something that's so important when you're an actor is you can't have a fear of embarrassment.
Right.
And that's another thing that struck me about your role in Stranger Things. I'm like, there's this girl with a shaved head in a leotard, acting, just blowing most adult actors out of the water. And there's no way she's comfortable right now. That water's probably freezing. But you could just tell there was just no vanity in your performance.
Thank you.
That's such a rare thing to find, again, even with an adult, because so many people are so aware of, well, how am I looking? Is this the right angle? Is this, and they think too much about kind of the surface instead of just letting it sit in your body and kind of and come through. So now I still get nervous, but now I just try to meditate. I worked with Anthony Hopkins in Westworld, and I just stayed calm, did the scene, went to my happy place, and then after we were done, I left and I cried. I literally squatted down and had to shed a few tears because that was just a surreal dream of mine, and because he was just so, I've never seen acting like that in front of me.
I know, it gets you sometimes.
Yeah.
Filming season 1 of Stranger Things, I didn't feel any pressure. I just thought this is going to be a Netflix original series, and I feel so much now. Not pressure, but I feel so much, just people are expecting so much, but I block it out. I leave my phone at home when I work, and I don't let people talk to me about the SAG Awards or just talk to me about what I'm doing. What do I have to do? And I never, I always thought, when I was doing press, I thought, wow, how is it going to be going back? I don't know if, am I rusty? You know what I mean? That's what you think, the things that go through your mind.
I always go through that moment before a project of, wait, I think I've forgotten how to act. I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Wait, can I read my
everything
lines?
Up until now has just been a fluke.
I know, that's what you think, exactly. I always think that, wait, am I actually an actor right now? And then you go back on set and it's there. It's always going to be there.
It's always there.
Even when I'm sick or something, I'm at home and I'm sick, and then I go into work and like I'm not sick anymore. It's like it's so weird. It's like everything goes away. It's like a cure for me, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And if you were thinking about all that stuff, and if you were going, I'm gonna do this to get an Emmy, or you know, then you're not in the moment.
You're not an actor.
No, exactly. And if you're a real artist, then you would know that this is not truthful, and I'm not here right now. I'm thinking about other things. So.
Exactly.
What's your just best audition moment and worst audition moment?
The best audition for me was Wolverine. I went for Logan, and I went for the little girl, and I watched it. She was incredible. But you know, I went for it. It meant so much to me. I was filming Stranger Things, and I was like, this is gonna be amazing. Like, I'm gonna really prepare. And I like sat in my room, reading the lines, and honestly, for me, I felt an actor like in the audition room, hitting Hugh Jackman and you know, James Mangold standing right in front of me. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, it was one of the best auditions. And the worst audition was I went for a Barbie commercial. It was hard. It was like, you know, I had to jump up and down. They gave me this like, I don't even know what it was. It was just this thing I had to hold and like stand up and pretend to play with this other girl. I mean, it was awkward. It was very awkward. And they're like, what's your name? And here's my resume. And I went into an audition fluent in American. I would never go in English because sometimes I thought, oh, would it throw people off of, you know, of hiring me?
Right.
So I just go, hi, I'm Millie, you know, I'm 9 years old. I've been acting for about 1 year, you know. I'm so perfect, you should totally hire me, you know, so like.
But that's smart.
Yeah.
You know your audience when you walk into an audition.
I mean, and like I'd always revise on like, what movies did they, you know, direct or write, you know, so. What about you? What was your worst and best audition?
Oh man, very, very similar. You know what's funny? Sometimes my best auditions, I don't get the part.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I know.
You do all this work and you just go, man, but it's nice to leave and go, there's nothing more I could have done.
No.
I gave the best audition, and it's out of my hands at this point.
Yeah.
So probably, oh man. Oh, God. But it's so embarrassing because now I have to say like what I didn't get. I went in. I auditioned for Janis Joplin, and I have been listening to her my entire life and so obsessed. And was just waiting my whole life to do this audition, and prepared, and I studied her voice, and I memorized a 3-page monologue.
No.
And like I had to like sing a song, not one of her songs, but like in the style of her.
Right.
And I went in. I crushed this audition. I crushed it. But I felt really good about it, and I didn't get it, but I left going, well, you know what? At least I got to play Janis Joplin for 1 day.
Yeah.
And someone saw it, and I feel like I did a good job.
Exactly.
And
but then you realize,
like feeling good about this. Yeah.
You realize that like that director will call you in. You know, you want to make a good impression not only on the movie or the TV show, but the director itself, because sometimes like I went in for James Mangold, but you know, like I want him, he's always gonna remember me, maybe in a bad way or a good way, but he's gonna remember me and maybe one day bring me back in. Like, you know, for a different movie, you always, that is a cycle of acting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's never over.
No, never over. Yeah.
I think my worst audition, yeah, this is when I was a kid. I must have been maybe 7 or 8. And it was for a Toys R Us commercial.
Oh, wow.
Why all the worst auditions are commercial auditions with the toys? Yeah. But I had to go in and I had to tap dance.
Oh.
And I don't dance.
Me neither.
Mm-mm. But I went in and crimped my hair and I got in a leotard and I was told, well, they're gonna teach you a dance and then you do it. And I went, okay, I can do that. And I walked in there and all these kids got up and they were like professional dancers.
Oh, no.
They all had routines. And I realized, oh my God, I'm supposed to have a routine. And I did not. And I walked up like in front of this room of children and just went, I don't have a dance. And they went,
oh my goodness.
Okay, we'll just shuffle a little bit or do this. And I kind of like badly shuffled.
Oh, wow.
And did a little thing. And then ran out and just like started crying. It was just one of the most mortifying moments
that's what you
of
do.
my life.
That's what you do. Like you'll go through anything to just be in the audition room and like show what you've got, you know what I mean? That's what you do. It's like, the embarrassment is always going to be there sometimes, but you remember why you walked in there, you know? So it's really important. That's the best though. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. I didn't put it on tap shoes after that ever again.
No, I done a really weird audition once where I had to be Southern. It was, and I walked in, and I, no joke, had dungarees on, cowboy boots, a cowboy hat. I was like 10, and I walked in.
Piece of straw in your mouth.
Yeah, I was like crazy. I was like, and I got the job. I got the job. You wouldn't think that, but then obviously like the wrong visa happened. I didn't do it, but like, I mean, like that moment, like going in there, like, hi there, everyone. My name's Millie. You know, like doing this full-on Southern accent.
That's so funny.
It's so funny.
You're so good at accents.
Thank you.
Didn't you teach yourself the American accent? Did I read that?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
I love American people. Like, I think they're so interesting and so different to like, you know, you're welcome. But yeah, no, so just being around them and then like doing New York and all the different parts of America, that it's like being in a different part of a country, you know, like you have the New York and then you have Los Angeles, and it's really interesting.
All the different dialects.
Your bones will turn to sand. And upon that sand, a new God will walk. One that will never die. Because this world doesn't belong to you or the people who came before. It belongs to someone who is yet to come.
Obviously, your show is pretty big. And I mean, and obviously people are always trying to dig deep into,
they always want to know,
you know, the
what
theories
and
yeah, can you say anything about, you know, but how do you deal with that? Like, how is that, how does that improve your acting, and does it improve it? I mean,
well, I don't know how much they told you or how much you knew, or if you even know now,
right,
about Stranger Things or your character.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It was the first project that I worked on that I didn't have an idea of where my character was going or what the arc was. I was told she starts off one way and she gets kind of stronger as she goes along. That's all I was told. So luckily, the people, the showrunners, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, are just two of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and I trust them completely. And they're probably the only people that I would play Marco Polo with in that way and act and not know if later, when they gave me the answer, I was going to go, I would have, how? No.
Yeah. Can we go back? You know, take it off.
Can I redo this, please? But it was actually, I thought it did actually help give me that air of mystery and depth.
Curiosity.
And curiosity, yeah. And if I had known all the answers, you can't help maybe even subconsciously put in a little clue here and there, a little gleam in your eye, a little cat that ate the canary. And so I thought it was just a great way to keep us in the moment and keep the performances as pure as possible.
And yeah, I think for me, I have to know what's happening.
Yeah, if anybody's gonna know, I feel like it's you.
I'm always, I mean, I am full of information. Like, this is the problem with me. I sometimes wish I don't know things, but I text the director, and like you said, I completely trust Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, and Sean Levy, who's also a director for the show. I just completely trust them, but I also need to know, because I don't know, something in the way I work is like, I need to know how this is going to end for me, you know? And I don't know if it improves it, but it definitely helps me as a person, like, to know what's happening with my character. And I just text them, like, what is happening? And they'll tell me, you know, because...
Do you then have to keep the secret?
I do.
Oh, see, that's the hardest part for me.
Episode 8, I die, right? I disappear.
Yeah,
But then that's the thing, right? So
See, I'm gonna start doing it.
But then like they was like, you can't tell anyone you're coming back for season 2, right? So I'm like, got it, perfect, sounds great. And then I'm doing all this press and going to Paris, and they're like, so are you gonna be in season 2? And I'm like, I'm not sure yet, you know, and I just always say, email Ted Sarandos, the CEO of Netflix, maybe he'll give you the answer, you know, and then I was like, you guys have to tell people, like, it's too much for me now. I mean, they're gonna see me in Atlanta, they're gonna know I'm filming. So they finally announced that I was gonna be in this, you know, and this season I was like, thank goodness.
You might want to tell people, because some people are only watching the show, you know, for me, so might want to just
yeah. Can we stop so I can tell her everything?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But I agree. That was the hardest part, was when you did know, not being able to say anything.
Not being able to say a thing.
And people had no idea who my character was, and I had to do all these interviews, and they were like, "So is she like an important character or like a pivotal character in this?" And like, she's just kind of like, you know, the innocent farm girl damsel in distress. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. She has the ultimate power. Oh God." So that is really difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult.